welcome to the NBA Daily, presented by Amazon Prime for January 7th. I'm Dave DuFour here with Zena Keita. Coming up, Wemby's back, but it didn't matter. The Grizzlies stole one. We're going to talk about that a little bit. And we got Josh Robbins to talk about the Wizards' improved play as of late and whether or not they're going to trade for Trae Young. Good morning, everybody. What's up, Zena?
What up, Dave? How are you?
I'm not bad. Not bad. You know, we had some games last night. I'm not going to say we had like great matchups going in. You know, I wasn't super excited. Although Lakers Pelicans wound up being a little bit more entertaining than I maybe anticipated.
Absolutely.
Lakers picking up a win when it looked like they were going to lose. Yeah.
Pelicans led for most of that game. And then, you know, LeBron's going to LeBron. Luka definitely Luka. They cleaned it up at the end of the game for sure.
Yeah. Trey Murphy had a 20-point quarter, which feels like, hey, please trade for me. Get me out of here. Get me onto a playoff team.
But the funny part was if you were listening to that game and listening to their announcers, you would have thought that they were making the opposite case. Like, look at this connection that Trey Murphy has with Derek Queen, who, by the way, almost got a triple-double. Like, he's continuing the Derek Queen rookie saga that he's been on, just being phenomenal. But, yeah, no, it's clear that New Orleans does not want to lose Trey Murphy. But that's okay. I think a lot of teams are very happy with wherever he ends up, him being an option on their trade deadline board.
Yeah. Okay. Let's swing it to Memphis because the Grizzlies, it was health night in Memphis, and the Grizzlies didn't have Ja Morant, they didn't have Cedric Coward, and they didn't have Zach Edey. Ja Morant, irony. You know, it is pretty funny, right? And look, this team has been shorthanded quite a bit this year. You know, we're still waiting for updates as far as you know, Edey's availability, and Ja has obviously been in and out all season long. But they go into this game, and you know, we found out the day of that Victor Wembanyama was going to be available. Obviously, we dodged the scare. We all dodged the scare when he hyperextended his knee last week. And frankly, he looked awesome and scary coming off the bench. Zena puts up 30 points. It's like he never missed any time. But he had that minutes limit, and ultimately the Grizzlies were able to take advantage of it. 21 points from Cam Spencer.
Oh, he was the reigning hero, really. We've seen this whole like Pat Spencer, then Cam Spencer. Like they keep having these like emergent games.
Yeah.
But he was definitely their hero. That baseline jumper that he had with like 36 seconds left.
That was the pickup hoops short corner jump shot that you're not allowed to take in the NBA unless your name is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or Nikola Jokic. And Cam Spencer just dribbled straight down into that thing.
Right into that thing, created space for himself. Like he was doing that all night, really getting into the paint, getting right by the trees. Really, really impressive. I love the fact that Jaren Jackson Jr. matched him with that 21 points. I think he has been a focal point of what's going on with the Grizzlies. Like if he doesn't show up, they're as strong and as dominant as he likes to be when he's out on the floor. So he's definitely their baseline, and he showed up tonight. He did a really great job, I think, of pulling Victor Wembanyama away from the rim, which is like interesting because most teams haven't been able to do that consistently because the Spurs like to keep him as a low man. They'll switch out, but somehow Victor just kept getting pulled, whether it was Santi Aldama or Jaren Jackson Jr. getting pulled away from the basket. And, you know, he was able to provide something. Jock Landale, listen, every time he plays, I'm like, it's crazy. He was sitting at the end of Houston's bench last year. Yeah. He comes in, almost has a double-double, 19 points, 9 rebounds, just huge off the bench for them. And yeah, Santi Aldama, low-key, like clutch
He's
defense.
Having a really good season.
Great season.
And it's
really
flown
great
under
moves.
the radar. Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
Absolutely.
And to your point about the way they were able to pull Wemby away from the rim, I mean, this is one of the advantages where you have a couple of stretch bigs able to play at a time, whether it's Jaren and Aldama playing together or with Landale. You've got to guard these guys outside of the 3-point line. You can't just have your base defense and just say, okay, we're going to rotate. I mean, it's just impossible with the way these guys shoot. Let's swing it to Wemby because, again, he's been injured. We worry about, you know, with a guy this size, what he might look like. And Zena, there was a moment before the game, like in the warm-ups, where a bunch of basketballs got stuck in the net. You know how that happens during warm-ups, right?
Nobody's
paying
Everyone's
attention.
shooting at the same time. They all go in at once.
Yeah. I'm not sure if you guys are listening. Go and look at the video, but we're going to throw it up on the YouTube channel for sure. Wemby just jumps up and sort of does a crane kick, like Karate Kid style, to unstick the basketballs. So, look, I'm just thinking this guy's healthy.
Oh, he looks good. The fact, I mean, you already rattled off the numbers. He did 30 points in 21 minutes. I don't think you mentioned that part about it, right? Like, that's crazy that he was just out there for 21 minutes. But that karate chop is the most insane thing I've ever seen. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know how many gyms I've been in, how many games I have seen, been a part of, warmed up for. Never in my mind, even if I was 7'5", 7'6", whatever we put, would it occur to me to fully karate chop the balls out of the net. And the funniest part is when you look at the comments, someone found a picture of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar also doing the karate chop, not for the balls, but kick, just in general for the kick. And I'm just like, what is this kid? Who is this guy? Like, what's going on with Victor Wembanyama? But yeah, just continues to, we're going to find a way to see that in a game. Him, like,
I don't know. I can't come up with a use for the crane kick. I mean, what is he going to block a jump shot with his foot? I mean, I guess I
don't know. You could. That's what I'm saying. If it's Jose Alvarado, like, going in there, you never know. You know what I mean?
Well, Alvarado, we know he's not scared of a guy who's tall. Gotta say, look, the Grizzlies also, they did a good job of holding, like, we've been talking about the Spurs guard play all year. The Grizzlies did a good job. Stephen Castle, De'Aaron Fox. I mean, 4 of 18 for De'Aaron Fox, 5 of 14 from the field for Stephen Castle, and Dylan Harper, 2 of 7 from the field. So, I mean, if you can handle those guys, it doesn't really matter as much if Wemby goes off, because, like, the secret is, like, one guy just can't beat you in the NBA unless he's putting up, 60. I mean, if it's Jokic, I guess he can do it. But Wemby isn't quite there yet.
I just had this conversation off the pod, just talking to folks about Wemby, and it was after Jaylen Brown said that he was the best two-way player, right? And I think we had discussed it, and then I brought it up in a different conversation with someone else, and people were like, well, wait, would Victor Wembanyama have a word in that conversation? And I was like, I haven't seen him be consistent enough on offense for me to just fully, buy into him being one of the best two-ways. He is the most, like, ridiculous, like, not real two-way player we've ever seen, but it's just not consistent enough. And so I think you're making a great point of just like, we gotta see that Victor can do this night in, night out, and also utilize his strengths night in, night out. Like, he shot the ball outside as well as, scored inside this tonight, but we've seen nights where he looks uneven inside the paint. But, obviously last night was not one of those. Yeah.
I mean, again, 30 points in 21 minutes is kind of crazy coming off the bench. Let's talk about the Timberwolves, because they blew out the Heat 122-94 last night. The Heat are just not really very good, right? This is the Eastern Conference play-in team. But the Wolves are confusing. They're currently the 6th seed, but they're only a half a game from being the 3 seed. And Zena, look, they're 24-13, and you go back and you look like they've won 7 of their last 10. Well, what does it look like? They beat the Thunder. They beat the Knicks. Those are good wins.
Huge wins.
Okay, but they also lost to the Nets.
Period. There it is.
They lost to the Hawks. And this has kind of been the story with this team for the last couple seasons. They have a good win. I mean, they've been playing better basketball, right? Like, give them credit. You win 7 of 10. Yes, you're playing better. But what does it look like when they play against the big teams? Again, they did get that win against the Thunder. They got that win against the Knicks. They lose a tight game against the Nuggets. And then, there's a little bit of a letdown, I think, in that Nets loss. So maybe I'll give them a pass for that. But what do you make of the Timberwolves right now? I mean, are they good or not? Like, is this a good basketball team?
I think they are. I think they are a good basketball team. I was going to say, like, Coach Dave is being really kind here by giving them the pass after the Christmas Day loss. You would think that would be the thing that revs them up. Rather than, we're down, in sorrow over those spiritless losses that they had, really. And that's the thing, when you look at that Brooklyn game and those Atlanta games, like, they had no spirit. And then you looked at the way that they played against Miami, they were disciplined, they were high energy, they were cheering for each other. I mean, Julius Randle had a ridiculous 3 that at the end of the game, Anthony Edwards saying to Zora Stevenson, like, I didn't know he had that in his game. Like, they were just having a good time. And that's what you've really seen over the last 10 games, where they've gone 7 of 3, where they've been able to be top 10 in the amount of points that they've scored and the defense that they've played. They've been really, really disciplined, and you've gotten a lot of big performances out of some peripheral players that have been a little bit rocky, particularly from an offensive perspective. Like Dante DiVincenzo putting up some good numbers lately. We know Jaden McDaniels can do what he does, but he's been really good two-way as well. There's been more than just Ant being produced. Rudy, the hate for Rudy, I haven't heard much of it, which I'm happy about, because he does exactly what Minnesota needs him to do, getting them extra possessions. Like the amount of times he's batting stuff out. He's not going to be the guy that you're like trusting to finish in transition, but he protects the rim well. He gets some opportunities. And that matters. The fact that they can dominate the paint. Like, I mean, that's
a top 5 defense, and it's because of Rudy Gobert. I don't want to be the guy who's like, hey, Rudy Gobert, defensive player of the year, because I think that they did enough of that on the broadcast, and we're probably going to see enough of that on social media.
Fair.
He is having an excellent season, and one of the big problems has been the defensive drop-off when he goes to the bench. And so, this is where games like last night, Naz Reid puts up 14 points. He's plus 21 off the bench. Those are huge nights.
Oh, and Naz Reid, yes. That's really
if you're not going to have the defense coming off the bench, you've got to have the big time offense. So Naz Reid, scoring. You're talking about DiVincenzo shooting the ball better. I'm not sure where they wind up with their best lineup if they don't wind up making a move, but I feel pretty confident that DiVincenzo is going to be with the closers. I just don't see how you keep his shooting's too important. He doesn't fold as a defender. I mean, he's a pretty good defender. Yep. And I do think that you need that extra spacing out there. They're going to be short a ball handler, but maybe. This is if they don't go make a move. But I do think like DiVincenzo, especially when you look at the way he's playing now, I mean, you can see playoff time, like they're going to need his spacing.
Yeah, they locked down Miami. It was close to start the game. You were seeing, back and forth, and then things just got really clogged up, and it was DiVincenzo on the perimeter. And for someone that's as quote unquote undersized, like he's not very tall. But we know other teams really struggle that they don't have wing depth and wing perimeter defensive positioning. And he, like you said, he doesn't fold. He's not easily bullied and bruised out on the perimeter. And he really just made things very difficult, I think, for outlet passes for the Miami Heat. They could not get up the floor the way they like to get up the floor because they were just being hounded early in the backcourt, and they just couldn't see as well in the half court. And so I think DiVincenzo is going to close with guys. I think the fact that he is a microwave scorer, he can go on streaks where he's not shooting well, but when he is on, he is great in transition. He is he's part of why they had that boost in the third and fourth quarter, energy wise. And I don't want to get away from DiVincenzo, but I do also want to say, going back on the Gobert thing, it's Randall and Gobert.
Right.
It's working.
Oh yeah,
it's clicking, and it's you're getting what you need out of them. Double doubles, of course, the blocks from Gobert, but also they're outscoring opponents in the paint, by 30 points. Like they're dominating on top of also protecting the paint. So that's also another factor that I don't want to forget.
Yeah, Randall again, he might be an all-star this year. He's been so good, and if he doesn't make the all-star team, this season's probably going to go a little overlooked by him. But they've got the guys. It's just, can it all come together by the time we get to the playoffs? Which I don't know. I feel like
would you still have? This is a good question, because we've seen this change throughout the playoffs in the last few years, and it's part of why Naz Reid got that $125 million extension. Do you see Naz Reid coming off the bench?
Oh, for sure. I just don't think. Right? I think that you've got to have another guard. Yeah, it's. Moving him, like playing the three bigs, which I know a lot of people have kind of flirted with out loud, where it's Naz Reid and Randall and Gobert together. I just don't think that works nearly as well as people think it might.
I agree.
The defense on the perimeter would be pretty rough, but I don't know. They've got guys. It's just making it all work. Speaking of having guys, we got our guy Josh Robbins after the break to talk about the Wizards' big win over the Magic and if they're actually going to trade for Trae Young. We were just talking about how the Orlando Magic have kind of had a disappointing season so far, Zena. Like we had this big expectation, home court advantage in the playoffs, and it's another season that's been mired by injuries. And then they lose games to the Washington Wizards that we just don't expect. They lost last night to the Wizards, 120 to 112. Here to talk about it, our guy that covers both these teams. This was the Josh Robbins Derby, hot on the heels of the James Edwards Derby last night. Josh Robbins is here. Josh, welcome. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. I'm still in the media workroom. I was putting the touches on a story that's going to come out today. Probably has already been published by the time this goes online. Happy to be here. Happy to be here.
Happy to have you. Happy to see the Wizards playing better lately. They pick up the win over the Magic, 7-5 in their last 12. And I actually think that if you go back and if you're a Wizards fan, you go back and watch this game against the Magic again, it sort of encapsulates the last 11, 12 games for them. I think you saw Bilal Coulibaly's defense when he was guarding Paolo Banchero and really caused him to get off to a bad start in the game. You've seen Alex Sarr this season growth, and I think especially over here the last few weeks, he puts up 23, had 8 rebounds, 2 assists, and 4 blocks in the game last night. So what's going on with the Wizards? Why do they look so much better here lately? Are they just playing harder and shots are falling, or do you feel like there's something different?
Well, I think there's all of that. I think a lot of it stems from a team meeting they held in mid-November. That came right after a very bad loss to the Brooklyn Nets here in Washington. And the team has shown more fight ever since. There have been other factors too. All the individual growth that you just alluded to, Sarr's work in the offseason, Bub Carrington's shooting, which he's now in the 40s for 3-point shooting. All of these individual improvements are congealing in part because the players are holding each other accountable. That's a part of this. CJ McCollum has recovered from a slow start with a new team. He's playing very well on offense. And this team now just makes a whole lot more sense than it did a month ago. They're playing in the way that the coaches and the front office hopes they will play. The ball moves. For the most part, they're putting in good effort on defense, although there are lapses. They play at a tempo that other teams, the Magic, one of them, would die for.
Yeah.
So things are working well for them, and they're playing guys who make sense and who make their teammates better.
I'm happy you mentioned the guys that make sense and make their teammates better. We watched this game, and I'm literally texting Dave and our crew and being like, watching the Washington Wizards is like watching like a Legends All-Star. Like CJ McCollum is a little bit older, but he's still flashy, still doing really fun stuff. Of course, Chris Middleton was right alongside with him, alongside these young guys. And we know that bringing in Chris Middleton and having CJ McCollum was supposed to be the change to add a little professionalism and a little veteranship into this young core group of guys. But what's been the change that has kind of propelled everyone up or given some guys a little bit of an avenue to showcase? I mean, I didn't expect to see Trae Johnson compilation videos as of late, but I have. Like, there's just been a little bit more buzz. What's been the change?
Part of it is that the team is healthier. Trae Johnson among them, Bilal among them. Keyshawn George is hurt right now. The players only meeting. Who called that meeting? I believe it was CJ McCollum and Chris Middleton with an assist from Marvin Bagley, who actually is now a veteran, certainly a veteran on this young team.
Yeah.
And then in early December, Cam Whitmore was benched. And I just want to be clear, Cam Whitmore was not the reason the Wizards got blown out by the Boston Celtics on December 4th. He's not the reason why the team has a losing record. He is one of many reasons for all those factors. But on that specific night, after extensive coaching over a period of weeks, he was playing in a more lackluster fashion than his teammates. He didn't get back well on defense. The tunnel vision that is typical of his offensive game continued, and he got benched. Yeah, there's this Those are the standards Brian Keefe was referring to, not any off-court stuff, not any off-court stuff. Again, I'm not saying that benching Cam Whitmore, moving him off of his minutes just totally changed the team. What I am saying, though, is that the people who took his minutes have played in such a way that they've elevated everybody else. So Justin Champagnie is pound for pound the best rebounder on the team and would be pound for pound the best rebounder on many teams. He plays every possession as if his career depends on it. And when you play like that, other guys have to step up their own games. Yeah. They're playing a rookie. Now, Will Riley has a lot to learn. He's a rookie drafted like somewhere around 19, 21, something like that. But he, too, plays as hard as he possibly can. For a time, they were actually playing a second-round draft pick named Jameer Watkins, who's the most physical defender they've got. And when those three guys play, it elevates everybody else. It elevates Bob Carrington. It's had an effect on Coulibaly. It's had an effect on Sarr. And so a rising tide lifts all boats, and that has played a role here. You can't convince me otherwise.
Let's swing it to Orlando because, you also cover them and their starting lineup, which obviously is missing Jalen Suggs and Franz Wagner right now, was boat raced. This game isn't close if it wasn't for a bench unit comeback, which Jamal Mosley, I give him credit for this. He stuck with the guys that got him back in the game to close it out. I think that actually you got to send messages like that at some point to your team if you feel like the effort's not there. But I want to start with updates on Jalen Suggs and Franz Wagner. Suggs, they don't expect him to be out long, but this team is totally different when he's not out there. They're now 6-8 without him this season. And you talked about the pace. It's just night and day difference in pace. So when Suggs coming back, and then after that, tell me when Franz is coming back because they need both of those guys.
And they sure as heck could also use Mo Wagner as well.
Yeah.
So we'll get to them. There's no obvious return date for Jalen Suggs. He's dealing with a bruised MCL in one of his knees. That's after a contusion to one of his hips sustained during the NBA Cup semifinal, which we were together, the three of us.
Plus, we were.
Plus our boy Andrew Schlecht, NS, both of our guys.
Yeah.
But forget about us. Let's talk about the actual NBA.
Yeah.
Jalen Suggs is the force multiplier. He's a straw who stirs the entire drink. Now,
I love that saying, and it's so true about him specifically. That is, that's on
God
point.
bless you, Z. Thank you for boosting my ego. There's just something about the way he plays that has a carryover effect for everybody else. He helps them get stops, of course, which ignites their offense, and their offense is far at its best when it's in transition. But there's just something about the way he plays that changes things for them, and they miss him terribly. That's been a very big loss for them, and he's not doing any on-court contact stuff yet. So he might be out for a little while longer. He was doubtful for Tuesday's game and then was ruled out during the day. As for Franz and Mo, so Franz had a high ankle sprain. I believe he suffered it on December 7th in New York. Mo Wagner tore his ACL on December 18th, 2024. So he's now getting close to 13 months. Both of the Wagner brothers had 1-hour individual workouts here in Washington on Tuesday. Those workouts went well, and yet their returns are not necessarily imminent. I do not expect them to play tonight in Brooklyn. Does not seem like they are certain to play Friday in Orlando. As a matter of fact, it's at best, it seems unlikely that they will play on Friday. I expect them to play before the team goes overseas. After all, that's one of the reasons why they are playing in Brooklyn, to show off the Wagner brothers.
In Berlin.
In Berlin.
In their hometown.
Yeah, that's right. In Berlin.
Wow.
Berlin, not Brooklyn. And Tristan da Silva, who also plays for reigning European champs. So I certainly know the Wagners would love to have played before they go back home. And the team needs those guys desperately because they're not playing well now. That's to put it pretty kindly. Pretty kindly. They were awful tonight. They were awful Tuesday night.
They looked lost from the beginning. It was interesting to see the pace that they typically like to play up and down the floor be kind of dominated by Washington. Overall, though, with Orlando, I think we just have to figure out health for them. But let's get to one more team. And we're going to Atlanta for this one because we've been hearing these rumors around the Trae Young situation. Of course, it gets announced, which is so hilarious to me. Like, shout out agents for doing your work. It gets announced that conversations are being had around moving Trae Young. What do you know? What's the validity to this? Like, where could he go? What could happen?
Atlanta and Washington, or Trae Young's agents and Washington, either one or the other, maybe both, did have a conversation about this. I don't think anything is imminent. I don't think anything is going to be definite. Is Washington a possibility? I would say it's a possibility in part because Washington would have very little to lose. I've seen it written in some sites that Washington would give up draft capital to acquire Trae Young. I cannot envision any scenario in which outgoing picks from Washington to Atlanta outweigh the incoming picks from Atlanta to Washington. Just can't. Yeah. If that were to happen, that would shock the living daylights out of me. Yes, hypothetically, I suppose the Wizards could give up a second-round pick, but and this is me talking. From everything I've seen over the last few years and what I'm gathering now, they would have to get then a better pick coming in to do a deal. And I would imagine that Atlanta's response is, we're planning to send you, Washington, a former 4-time All-Star who is only 27 years old and is about to go on to an expiring contract during the 26-27 season, and you want us to send you draft capital? I would imagine that that's how the conversation would go, and that's where any negotiation would be. It's not definite that anything's going to happen. And
there's a fit there, though. The CJ McCollum contract fits. I think that the Wizards being in the position they're in, where their team is so young, and adding a shot creator like Trae Young, I think is going to boost those guys a lot, including Trey Johnson, who can play next to Trae. Maybe it doesn't matter because you don't really care if you win a ton of games anyway. And hey, what if it works? Then you got a pretty good player, because Trae is actually a good player. As much as I know his market's depressed, I still think that this is an overcorrection maybe of the market on these offensive-minded guards. I don't know. We'll see. How do you feel about the move? Like, do you see the avenue here where this actually just makes them a little bit more competitive and better?
On offense, it lead to a ton of open shots for all the players you mentioned. And it would be a godsend for Alex Sarr in the pick and roll.
Oh, right. Yes, it really would.
Having said that, it likely would make a bad defense, not bad lately, but bad over the last 3 years, even worse. Defensively, it makes no sense. Offensively, it makes a ton of sense. What it comes down to would be the incoming draft capital, assuming that they could get it in a negotiation, and B, it would be a 1-year trial period,
right,
before the 26-27 trade deadline, where the Wizards would have to make a decision at that time, most likely as to whether they would keep Trae Young for the long term. And none of the players that they would send out fit into their long-term plan. If it doesn't work out with Trae Young, you're out players who weren't in your long-term plans, and then you have $49 million in expiring salary, which they essentially would be able to use in 2027 when ostensibly they would be more attractive to other free agents.
They're just flipping the CJ McCollum expiring into
That's
another
right.
expiring, and if it all hits, hey, you won the lottery. I think
That's
it's a
right.
good move, and I still think Trae Young's a pretty good player. Also, pretty good. Josh Robbins, not bad.
Pretty great.
Appreciate you hanging out. Thank you, Josh, for hanging out. Guys, go and read him at The Athletic. He's also a really good writer. He's not just an amazing podcaster.
What do you think of my new puffer jacket?
I'm
New puffer
into the
vest.
puffer
Look at
jacket.
this.
I like it.
I
Thank
live in
you.
California, so I don't wear a lot of puffer vests, but I do. That is a nice puffer jacket you got there. It's got that heat shield lining in there that keeps you warm, retains the heat. Columbia makes some good stuff. Anyway,
Oh,
that's
you
a
sound
free
like an
advertisement
expert.
for
I
Columbia.
know.
We gotta
An
get out of
inadvertent
here.
advertisement.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
to
having
Josh
me.
Robbins. Thanks to Zena Keita. I'm Dave DuFour. This has been the NBA Daily. Thanks for listening.